Welcome back, Honors. All right, so we started talking today in class about the Punic Wars, right after we took our map quiz, and you guys were being awesome and banging stuff out, and I'm so proud of y'all for moving through this unit so quickly, and it's super impressive. And so to help y'all out, what I'm going to do also is in the next couple days, I'm going to go ahead and throw up your study guide, right? Now, we are almost out of the Republic period, and we are soon going to be moving into the Empire period, and right now it's looking like we're going to be taking y'all's next test around, give or take, next Friday-ish? Yeah, Thursday, something like that. So, but I will keep you up to date, and we'll let you know. And you know how it is in here. We're going to spend several days reviewing, getting ready, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, let's go ahead and go back over all this stuff, shall we? We got into the Punic Wars today a little bit, right? We started talking about how, Rome had taken over all of the Italian peninsula, and they start growing at a rapid rate, and then they spot these guys across the way, right? The Carthaginians. So ironically enough, this is a very pivotal point in Western civilization because hypothetically speaking, had the Romans, spoiler alert, lost the Punic Wars, we might be singing a very different tune right now. We might be saying a story of, well, Rome could have been great, but the Carthaginians were the best. By the way, this is blah, 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 blah. Our architecture could be different. Our maritime economies could be different. Or everything in the production of Western civilization could be different had the Romans lost these wars. But somehow, they pulled them out. All right, so the big one that started off, of course, is the First Punic War. It's going to break out over the island of Sicily, right? So good old Sicily, right? So Sicily, of course, always being a pivotal area for any type of maritime economy, or if you want to launch anything into the Mediterranean from Italy, it's extremely important. And why is it so important to Rome? Because it's the only place with natural harbors off the coast of Italy, right? So since it's the only place with natural harbors off the coast of Italy, that means they got to go out there and go get it, right? So they have to go out there. Now, the thing about it is there are already two, count them, two, write this down. The problem is that there are two other cultures that already exist on the Isle of Sicily. One of them being the Carthaginians, the other one being the Greeks, right? The Greeks were there long, long before Rome was even a thought in the historical mindset, right? Like history was living his young buck days. He was driving a motorcycle. He had no time for anything serious. And then, the thought on his mind was never Rome, right? Rome wasn't even around when the Greeks showed up in Sicily. They had the Isle of, they had a colony called Syracuse that was a major battle site during the Peloponnesian War when the Spartans absolutely ravaged the Athenians in the water before they could even get off their boats and all this other stuff. So, if you aren't understanding what I'm saying, Sicily was already occupied, all right? So, but the Romans see it as a site where they can build a navy and take over Mediterranean trade, right? So why are they going there? Not to grow to this massive empire state and become the gigantic Rome that they would become, but just to make some cash, just to get out there and make some money. So Rome's going to build up its first navy, right? So it's going to build up its first navy, and it's going to launch into Sicily, right? So they're going to head down that way, and they're going to try and take over the Isle of Sicily, right? Now, this says, and takes over. No. They try to take over the island of Sicily. Now, ironically enough, if you're looking at the historical construct of things, there is no clear winner to the First Punic War, right? The First Punic War is kind of a draw because Rome ends up acquiring land in Sicily. However, Carthage still is there, and then Greece still owns a small piece of it, right? So Rome basically just set out and got the job done, right? They set up something on the Isle of Sicily, right? And the guy that they were fighting against in this entire engagement, the big Carthaginian general that was trying to hold on to all of Sicily for the Romans, is a man by the name of Hamilcar, right? Hamilcar is a Carthaginian general, right? This is misspelled. That says Hamilcar, right? So Hamilcar, L-I-C-A-R, was a Carthaginian general that tried to take hold of as much of Sicily as possible, right? So, and to keep it out of Roman hands against their big bad general, Scipio, right? So Hamilcar and Scipio are facing off against one another, and Hamilcar ends up losing vital territory on Sicily to the Romans, right? So in this fit of rage, right, he ends up training his son, Hannibal, right? Hannibal would eventually rise up and become another general in the Carthaginian army as well. And ironically enough, Hamilcar made him swear to forever hate Rome, right? He said, you, my son, will be the one that goes and destroys and sacks that god-awful city, right? And so what he does is he takes a lamb and he slaughters it and puts it on top of an altar, and he makes Hannibal put his hand on it and swear that he will forever hate Rome and that he was destined to destroy it, right? So in the Second Punic War, the Carthaginians have taken over a big chunk of Spain. Let me back this up real quick right here. So, wait. So the Carthaginians head in and take over this entire area of the Iberian Peninsula, right? Notice this is the Western Mediterranean around 264. So this is around 264 as in like before the Punic Wars break out, right? So, and then they take over this huge area, and Hannibal ends up setting his sights on Rome itself, right? Hannibal also says, screw that. I'm not just going alone. I'm going to cross the flippin' Alps by myself, well, not by himself, with a whole army, and I'm even going to bring some guys on elephants, right? So Hannibal assembles an army of elephants and foot soldiers and all these other things, and historically, amazingly enough, he crosses the Alps in the north of Italy and is marching his way down to Rome, right? Even though, ironically enough, like half of his elephants died on the Alps due to the fact that it's really cold up there and a bunch of them slipped off a mountain, which is absolutely hilarious, and I don't care what anyone says. I understand some of you are like, oh, those poor elephants. Could you imagine how hilarious it must be to watch an elephant fall? You know, it's like, that. I'd imagine that's a very slow process, just like, goo, 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 boo, boo. That would take a long time, right? So, and a lot of you are like, that's terrible, Mr. Terry. Why would you say that? Look, these elephants have been dead for over 1,000 years, all right? So, it's just kind of crazy to think about. Now, anyway, Hannibal crosses the Alps, but then Scipio, right, the Roman general, realizes, wait a minute, I got an idea. And so instead of actually staying and trying to defend the city of Rome itself, he decides to try and distract Hannibal and force him to turn around, right? So Scipio attacks land in northern Africa and in Spain, forcing Hannibal to abandon his cause to try and sack Rome and bring the military back around and actually have massive battles within Spain, right? A couple of them Rome loses, and then historically they win a huge one at the Battle of Zoo. I can never remember what it's called, but I swear it starts with a Z. But what ends up happening in the Second Punic War, the Romans defend themselves, and they take that big swath of land in Spain, right? So they end up taking a huge amount of it, and Carthage is reduced down to a very small area, a teeny tiny little area. I'm also going to link in the description below a video that's like the Punic Wars in less than 3 minutes, and it's a good way to just kind of recap this whole thing if you want to just watch that. And it's very animated, and I think it's funny. Now, anyway, Rome, under Scipio, attacks northern Africa and Spain, turns Hannibal around, wins the Second Punic War, and reduces Carthage down to something about yay big, right? So very, very small, right? Then Hannibal's going to be forced to return to Africa to defend Carthage's lands. I just said that. Carthage's going to give up in 202 BC, right? So, and they're going to be be reduced down to basically nothing. So then a third Punic War finally breaks out in 146 BC under Scipio, the general of Rome's son, Scipio Africanus, right? And Scipio Africanus spends so much time sieging Carthage, and they eventually break in and ask me, I have some stories about the destruction of Carthage, but I don't want to put them on the internet, all right? So, ask me about them tomorrow. They're pretty hilarious. So after the Third Punic War, Scipio Africanus, son of Scipio. We got a couple of dad-son teams right now, right? We got Hamilcar and Hannibal, and then we got Scipio and Scipio Africanus, right? So Carthage is going to be left in ruins, and a bunch of the Carthaginians are going to get sold into slavery, right? Legend actually says that the ruins were so big and so bad and that the Romans went through and salted the land all throughout Carthage just so nothing would ever grow there ever again, right? So apparently Romans are very spiteful. right? So they leave it in ruins and salt the lands. And then after this Carthaginian Punic War thing, this is the most important piece of this entire flip, is the fact that this area, this little this taking over this big swath of Mediterranean land serves as the launch pad where Rome decides that it's time to take over everybody else, right? And so they go out and take over Greece and Macedonia and parts of the old Hellenistic Empire. And Southwest Asia comes under the control of the Roman dominance. Diplomacy and threats after the Punic Wars are going to force people to surrender to the Romans, and they almost take over the entire Mediterranean, with the exception of one area, Egypt, right? Egypt was the last standing empire around the Mediterranean that the Romans did not own, mainly because they saw them as an ally for a long time and a big bread basket. They would actually give them a lot of wheat and other goods when they needed them, right? So anyway, but the last but not least, the Roman Republic is then going to divide all these new conquered territories into provinces, right? And then they're going to appoint a governor to rule each province. Again, as we can see, the Roman government is just expanding and getting super complex and complicated and all this other stuff. And that's why I gave you the simplified version of it. That's all you need to know as a sophomore in high school, right? So many people of these new provinces are going to pay taxes to the Roman Republic, and a lot of them are going to be taken into slavery. Underline this thing where it says taken into slavery, because that's very, very important to understand, getting into the consequences of the Punic Wars and how that's going to set up the empire period with a lot of civil war and chaos and stuff like that, because the plebeians, of course, are going to be upset again. All right, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Great job tonight. Looking forward to it. Y'all have a good one.